I'm now going to discuss some of the factors that impact how and when employees actually seek feedback within their organizations. First, a person's goal orientation, or an orientation for how someone develops or demonstrates their ability, has an impact on how frequently they seek out feedback. Someone with a learning goal orientation is focused on acquiring new skills and mastering new situations. Their orientation positions them in a way that feedback is viewed as a positive path to their end goals and therefore seek out feedback more frequently. On the other hand, people with a performance goal orientation are seeking reinforcement on behaviors that they view as internal strengths or competencies. In addition, a performance goal orientation seems to indicate an avoidance of potentially negative judgments about their strengths or competencies. As you can imagine, people with a performance goal orientation tend to seek out feedback less frequently as an avoidance measure for receiving negative feedback. A separate set of factors that influence a person's feedback seeking behaviors are the inherent motivators that drive their desire to actively seek feedback. Some individuals are motivated to seek feedback because they have a need to acquire useful information about goals that are worth pursuing, awards that are associated with attaining those goals, behaviors that will aid achievement of those goals, and how they are evaluated based on the behaviors needed to achieve those goals worth pursuing. Employees that have much to gain by acquiring this useful information, which can be employees with role ambiguity or those that simply rate goal attainment as important, tend to seek feedback more frequently than those that have less to gain by acquiring knowledge, such as those comfortable in a well defined role. Others are motivated by a desire to protect their ego or self esteem, or more specifically, minimize any harm done. Those employees, as we see with the performance goal orientation, take steps to avoid negative feedback that may reduce their view of themselves or how they view others as perceiving them. Feedback seeking behaviors for those motivated to protect their ego are therefore decreased. Finally, another potential motivator is the desire to manage the perceptions of others within the organization and is tied to the availability or culture of feedback within the organization. For instance, in organizations where feedback seeking is not the norm, employees were more likely to not seek feedback in an effort to reduce negative perceptions of the behavior, where, on the other hand, organizations that have a culture of providing and requesting feedback tend to have employees that are more likely to seek feedback since there is less of a chance for negative perceptions to be tied for that feedback seeking behavior. Finally, relational characteristics are known to impact feedback seeking behaviors. Traditional social network analysis focus on the network perspective like the centrality. Relational characteristics are about the relations within a social network. Knowing is about whether you know there's a source or not. Value is how credible or useful the source is. Access is about how easily one can access a source. Cost is how much it costs to seek information about the source. And in order for a person to solicit feedback from a feedback source, the feedback source has to be known to the feedback seeker, must possess certain value, credibility to knowledge, must be easily accessible, and must not cost too much on the feedback seeker's perspective. If all of these characteristics are met, people are more likely or more motivated to seek feedback in a social network.